I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It. Today, let's cover some do's and don'ts of getting feedback. It is a common occurrence for wrestlers to ask for feedback when they've returned from the ring. And if this is part of your post-match ritual, I want to give you some insight into what I think make up some key do's and don'ts of soliciting for feedback. And this first one is one I wish I had more carefully considered when I was young in my career, and that's this. Am I in a place to receive honest feedback when I come back from the ring? And I'm asking that of you for this reason. Many of us walk off stage on a performance high. We are dialed up about as high as we can possibly go because we are out there emoting at the very top of our theatrical tools capabilities, and we give a lot of ourselves. We show a lot of our personal vulnerability in the way that we perform for our audience. We put ourselves out there in a huge way. And that oftentimes generates an enormous performance high, unlike anything we know. Many of us, we don't know what it is to be a rock star, a stand-up comedian in front of a giant arena full of people that are loving everything that we are doing. The closest we get to that kind of performance high is when we're in the ring and we're walking away after a job well done. And in those first couple moments, as you start to come down from that performance high, you may not be in a place where you really want to hear honest feedback. And the mistake I made when I was a little bit more of a rookie than I am these days is I wanted somebody to give me some kind of praise that I think would continue that performance high. It would maintain it so I could continue to feel that good about what I just did. And that happened 0% of the time. It is exceptionally unlikely that there is any kind of praise, validation, feedback, criticism, or anything else that could be delivered to you in those moments following an in-ring performance high that's going to equal the sensation that you get after going to the ring and killing it. And that's why I would like to counsel you, if it sounds like you might be in that same kind of boat that I am often in, is to wait. Do not go looking for that the moment that you walk off stage, because you're bound to be a bit disappointed. And I want to give you this perspective, which you maybe have not yet considered, which is this. Are you really looking for feedback after the match? Or are you looking for a bit of praise or other validation? And there's a reason why we have separate words to describe those things. Because praise and validation are not necessarily feedback. Feedback can sometimes be negative or critical. So if what you really need as you're walking off stage is for someone to validate you or to give you a word of praise, know that's what you're looking for, and that you're opening yourself up to be deflated if what you get instead rings negative to your ears or sounds critical. And I happen to be of this opinion. The best feedback that you're going to get is critical. It's not flaccid praise. It's not just a slap on the back and a good job, kid. That's nothing is what that is. That's not feedback at all. If you really want feedback, make sure you're in a place to receive constructive criticism and know it may come out a whole lot more gruff or rough and tumble than you were hoping. In my early years, if I was so foolish as to come back through that curtain and start asking the veteran players nearby if they had watched my match and they had any feedback, even if they hadn't watched my match, they would take me to task and tear me apart over every silly thing that took place, even if they were just making it up, and most of the time they were right anyway. I would come backstage to find people telling me things like, well, don't you know how to work? Or why would you do it like that? That structure was all wrong. What a mistake you made. That was garbage, etc., etc., etc. And they were very quick to keep me humble if I ever came to the back thinking I had just stolen the show. And looking back on that, of course I didn't really want feedback. I just wanted somebody to say, good job, kid, and that would have been enough for me, and then I would have gone on my merry way. But I made the mistake of soliciting for feedback, and I was not in a place at that time to hear it. Or even in some cases, when it was offered to me, it came out in a way that didn't make sense to me. It sounded like people just wanted to bust my chops. And I have no doubt whatsoever that you will probably be in a locker room with somebody who maybe even means to help you with constructive criticism, but the way it comes out just sounds like they're busting your balls the whole time. And you want to make sure that you can try to parse that information out in case somewhere in there is a really valuable nugget that will show you a path to improvement so that you can pluck that out and make sure that's what you take with you. And as it relates to whom you might ask for feedback, ask yourself this question before you open up your mouth and find yourself in a conversation that you wish had never begun in the first place. Is this the kind of person I would have asked up front for advice? And if the answer to that is no, then why do you value their feedback? And something I want you to remember before you find yourself in one of those conversations is this: not all feedback is worth taking. It's great that someone spent any amount of their attention or their time on you and your performance, and that's worthy of your gratitude. They are worthy of being thanked for that. But not all feedback is worth taking, and it's up to you ultimately to qualify if it is or it is not. And if someone gives you feedback that you aren't certain about, you can't qualify it on your own. Is this worth taking or is it not worth taking? Reach out to your mentor or coach and ask them to help you parse it. I want to impart to you now a little bit of my personal experience because on most event days, I am running around like a madman. I've got 1,000 different things which all seem to need my attention very, very urgently. And for me, in those scenarios, my most valuable commodity is my time. The clock is ticking down before the customers come in, before the stream goes live, before the main event has to walk out and they've got a million questions. On every event day, my most precious commodity is my time. And if someone wants to come up to me and ask me to give some of that very precious commodity to them in this way, would you watch my match and give me feedback after the fact? My inclination is to try and find a polite way to say no, or sometimes when the day is very stressful, not so politely. So have some compassion for those people working hard on the day of a live event and consider how valuable their time might be. If there's somebody who seems like they might have a lot of time on their hands, they might be ripe to ask the question, would you watch my match and offer me feedback afterwards? But I think of this often. Back in the day, I never had to ask anybody for feedback. If they had anything to say to me, they would march right up to me the second I came to the back, and they would blurt it out, filled with vulgarities and obscenities to make sure I remembered it. So if you're walking around hoping to get feedback, keep in mind you might end up getting some feedback that you hadn't even solicited for in the first place. And do try to bear in mind, not all that feedback is gonna be worth taking. I want to offer you this pro tip about getting feedback. Imagine that I come to you and I am asking you for your feedback, your honest thoughts and criticisms about my performance. And then as you give me the feedback that I asked for, I begin to argue and debate with you or otherwise justify the choices that I made in the match. Will it sound to you as if I am really listening to the feedback you're offering, or I am trying to counter everything that you are saying? Will it sound like I am really accepting the thing I asked you for, or will it sound like I am actually arguing against the points you're trying to make? This is a huge pet peeve of mine. If I'm willing to dedicate my attention and my time to give feedback to anyone who asks for it, I'm not asking for an argument or a debate. I'm just offering the thing that was asked for, and that person has the choice to take it or leave it. And if even before the person is totally done speaking, you've already made up your mind, there is no way I am actually taking this feedback and incorporating it into my next performance. I will not. Even if you feel like everything that's coming out of their mouth is utter rubbish you can't wait to throw away, their time and their attention is still worth something, and they are worth being thanked for spending it on your match. In those extremely rare occasions when someone has offered me their feedback and I am 100% certain that what has just been said is utter garbage, when it's all over, I'm still going to smile, I'm still going to say thank you for your time and for giving me that feedback, and I'm going to mean it sincerely, because that time is valuable. And the fact that they brought any type of analysis to it, even if it doesn't sound quite right to me, that's valuable too. And for us to offer just a shred of gratitude for anyone willing to do that for us, I think overall makes wrestling a much better place. Just thinking about this right now makes me ask this question: what's the best advice you've ever been given after a performance. What great parcel of feedback did you receive? Share it with me below in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And while you're busy doing that, 3 other things. It goes like this: subscribe, like, hit the bell, you'll be notified. We'll keep making the videos. You keep being awesome, and we will keep on faking it.